All right, so boom. Yesterday night, we concluded the 2024 WWE draft. And I don't like it. Personally, I haven't liked the draft in quite some time. In fact, I find it hilarious that WWE did their draft on the weekend of the NFL draft, a draft that's actually taken seriously and matters in the eyes of their fandom. Because truly, call it what it is, the last time the WWE draft actually meant something was probably what? The 2000s, that entire decade dating from the start in 2002 up until about maybe 2010. They had some good ones over the 2010s, but outside of that, it's been garbage because it doesn't mean anything. Furthermore, how do you have supplemental picks at the conclusion of the show? If these people are undrafted, let them be undrafted. Imperium gets taken to Raw. They kick out Giovanni Vinci last week, but somehow he gets picked up in the supplemental draft to go to SmackDown. But we just watched on SmackDown the LWO implode even further, where Carlito backstabs Dragon Lee, but he gets drafted in a package with the LWO to Raw. It makes no sense, right? So there's a lot of different things that I would like to see changed if you really want to make the draft mean something. First and foremost, champions should not be exempt from being drafted. And with that being said, why is the Women's Tag Team Championship able to be drafted exclusively to Raw? That makes no sense. But you have SmackDown contenders for the title that they're going to take them on in France. It makes no sense. Then, if you're supposed to be a tag team champion, but you're exclusive to one show, are they going to introduce women's tag team championships for SmackDown? That makes no sense. I don't quite understand it. Then, because the brand split isn't taken as seriously as it was in the 2000s, I can guarantee you they're going to have people who was drafted to SmackDown or drafted to Raw all of a sudden still showing up on both shows for isolated events due to whether it be a tournament, some sort of tag team situation, or maybe a title match, some random stuff. You got to make the brand exclusivity mean something. And the way that you can make that happen is to make brand exclusive pay-per-views, which I already know they're not going to do. Well, PLEs now, but I already know they're not going to do it because they're making too much money now. WWE has never generated this amount of money ever in its existence. So with that being the case, there's no way they would limit their premium live events to having a set pool of superstars outside of NXT, but that's a little bit different. So with that being the case, we're going to continue to get the same kind of result. Then, this is another point that I would like to see them fix to make the draft mean something. If you go undrafted, there should be two things that happen. Either A, you get released, or B, you're actually treated as a true free agent. They should waive the no compete clause and have those guys mess around and show up on indie promotions, mess around and show up on other promotions, set up some form of partnership to where there's an understanding between both promoters, both entities, to where you can have that talent show up over there and work a couple of matches to really make it feel as if a free agent is truly a free agent. Because if you are a free agent within the WWE, there's only three places you can go: Raw, SmackDown, NXT. And call NXT what it is. It is developmental. Although they're on television, nobody's on some, yo man, I can't wait to get to NXT so I could go and run the place over here. Everybody looks at it as the C show of the three. So set that up. Unfortunately, you know they're probably not going to do that. They could have done it with R-Truth some years ago. Now he's on fire once again and truly has been killing it since coming to the WWE. I should say hitting his apex in 2011 and then carrying that momentum of being absolutely hilarious. I'm happy for that brother's success. But they should play on the actual free agents and have free agents to make it mean something. And for those people who are getting drafted, if you remember, in the 2000s, you actually had the superstars come out after they was picked up. So you would at least be acknowledged in person by the crowd, or maybe there's an interaction between the general managers and that particular superstar that got drafted to whatever brand, so you can see if they're happy or upset. When you think of WWE draft moments, you think of back in the inaugural one in 2002 when Undertaker got drafted, I believe, to Raw, and he was super pissed, left from the backstage area, then came out. When The Rock got drafted. You had the reactions that was there. So they should bring that back to make the draft mean something. And you should have all the superstars there when they're getting drafted. NXT at least had it the right way. You had the entire roster sitting, waiting to see who would get drafted. But for Raw and SmackDown, only thing that we really saw was the war room of legends, whether it be Teddy Long, the APA, Alundra Blaze, Michelle McCool, all these other legends sitting in the back with other executives making their picks. But the actual rosters aren't sitting around to see who gets drafted, who doesn't get drafted. Make it actually feel like it means something. Because if you're drafting a bunch of people who keep going to the same shows, what's the point? Half the draft ain't even going to a different show. Vast majority of the people, you was on Raw for years. You get drafted, you still on Raw. Nobody cares. And there should be surprises. Remember back in 2005 when Cena got drafted, ended up going over to Raw from SmackDown, and then they made no announcement for Batista. So for the SmackDown audience, although we can anticipate that Batista would be coming over to SmackDown, they set it up as if there will be no champion for SmackDown. JBL wins, I believe it was a Battle Royal, and then Teddy Long announces Batista was the last draft pick. Make it mean something. That brings back the allure to where people really want to tune in and be like, yo, who gets drafted here? Who gets drafted here? I'm excited for this. And make it mean something. Lastly, if motherfuckers don't get drafted, they should be angry. People should be pissed off. Drew McIntyre seems to be the only person who actually made it seem like it meant something because CM Punk got drafted before him. Outside of Drew, I ain't see too many people walking around with frowns on their faces because they hadn't been picked yet or they got picked late. He the only person who making it mean something. And I promise you, by next week, it ain't gonna mean nothing. Bianca Belair got drafted #1 overall. They should make that mean something. Jey Uso was already a #1 contender for the World Heavyweight Championship. He ended up being the very first pick for Raw. That's great. Bianca Belair got a #1 contender championship match alongside Jade Cargill for the women's tag team championship. So that now makes me wonder if they mess around and beat the Kabuki Warriors, do they now take those titles to SmackDown because they got drafted there, or because the titles were alongside the Kabuki Warriors that got drafted over to Raw, do they now go to Raw? There's a lot of questions that have to mess around and be answered. But overall, they need to fix the WWE draft to make it mean something. Let me know in the comment section what y'all think they should implement that can make the draft a little bit better. Furthermore, let me know what you thought of the WWE draft. Did you feel as if it was good? Did you feel like it was trash? I think personally, they either need to do away with the draft 100% if they're not going to make it mean something, or if you're going to keep it going the way that you got it right now, there's a lot of adjustments that need to mess around and be made to make it important. Because from where they sit right now, they giving all these legends an opportunity to go and get a cheap pop. You have these draft order stuff that mess around and happen, and then you move on to the next show and nobody cares anymore. Because you had 40, I believe on television there was 40 picks in total. And then the supplemental draft that happened after the show, you've got 15 some people who got drafted. And then you have individuals who are exempt. Like if you're hurt and you're exempt, okay, cool. Roman Reigns somehow having to pull to withdraw his name. All right. SmackDown, they had the bloodline associated with Reigns and not being able to get drafted. Then all of a sudden Solo was like, hey, make it happen. And they got drafted. I like that. But overall, I think they need to change up the system to make it mean something. So y'all let me know what y'all think in the comment section. And SmackDown was good. Raw was trash. They need to do better television coming up. But this Saturday, we are going live for the PLE live from Paris. So make sure y'all stay tuned for that. But yeah, let me know in the comment section what y'all think. You mean to tell me you watched the entire video but you haven't subscribed? Hit the subscribe button and become a member on Patreon or on YouTube to get access to the Discord. We're waiting for you in the Shadow Realm.
Just do it! Make your dreams come true! Please! Please!
What are you waiting for, huh?
Oh my god.